What's up, guys? So my original video got taken down, so these are just my thoughts that I shared in that video. If you didn't get a chance to listen to it, I hope you enjoy. So right now, guys, we got our first look from Spiral from the Book of Saw. And you know what? Despite what you want to call it, you could call it Saw 9, you can call it Jigsaw 2 or whatever. All we really know right now is what we saw in this trailer and what we've heard about the film as a whole. So before we get into this, what we do know is that it's going to be taking place in the same timeline as the first 8 films in the Saw franchise. And another thing that we do know is, at least from the trailer itself, it's going to be taking place in a very distinct area of the United States, which is something that we've never really seen before in the Saw franchise. I mean, obviously, one of the things they've always tried to turn to is like Saw can take place anywhere. It's everyday United States city or anything else like that. I've always kind of decided that it was Boston, even though there's really nothing to point to that. And even the last couple of films in the franchise have really pointed to, yeah, I mean, obviously this looks like Toronto. This doesn't look like anything else in the United States, but I guess that's besides the point. When it comes to this franchise, when it comes to this film, I've been on the fence. I love the Saw franchise. I love it more than pretty much any franchise that you could think of other than the Rocky franchise, and I really want it to be good. I want them to recreate the feeling, the passion, the drama, the excitement of the original trilogy for me, but like these days I'm kind of feeling a little bit more like a Star Wars fan than I am a Saw fan. Like, I feel like what they could have introduced could have been much more entertaining than it is elsewhere, and I feel like what they're trying to do now seems kind of desperate. So again, this trailer will definitely be dropping soon. This is definitely not the place where you can come and see it for yourself, like, oh, you're gonna watch the entire trailer and then talk about it with me, because I just can't do that on this channel. I want to talk to you guys about this beat by beat, scene by scene, and really go over it in the best way possible. So with that being said, let's jump right into it, and hopefully we can get this out. Like I said, again, this is definitely New York, right? Like, there's no way that you see it. Like, I don't know. Maybe Jigsaw was in a completely different city, and that's how they're going to do this. It does kind of take a little bit away from me, at least as a fan of the entire franchise, to think that they're settling for one city or another. Because one of the distinct ideas from the producers in the original 8 films was that this could be happening in everyday America. And, it's up to you to decide where this is happening and what's going on and just everything that played out from that. But it seems like they're finally picking a space, at least for this killer, the organ donor or whatever it is. However they take their inspiration, it's from John Jigsaw Kramer, but it's not really him because it's taking place in modern day, or whatever they're going to end up doing with time travel or something. Not time travel, but time, or whatever they're going to do with time displacement or something that they've done in previous films. I'm not entirely sure, but I mean, just looking at this image before you see the rest of the trailer, you know that there's obviously a lot more that went into this movie, and I really just want them to be successful about it, because they're definitely putting a lot more into this movie than they have the last couple of films, and it would be kind of a bummer for me to see this movie kind of crash and burn despite what they can bring to the table. So this is a really interesting situation set up. I just wish that they weren't so on the nose of where this was taking place. So one of the things we know about this film, more than anything, is really Chris Rock coming in. He wanted to do more of a comedy film than just a gore fest. And if you've been following my content for any real length of time, you know that I primarily hate gore fests. I really do. Like, yes, I like the entire Saw franchise. Yes, I understand the cultural perception of having a Saw film after what, maybe Saw 2, Saw 3 and onward, being like, oh yeah, that was just torture porn and nobody really cares about it and loves it and everything else like that. But one of the things that I loved about this franchise, at least as a young adult, was I could show it to my friends and people who had no idea exactly what it was or had been brainwashed into thinking it was something more than it was or less. And they would come across with like, oh, I thought that this was this, and I thought that this was this. And they get a sense that like, oh, the Saw franchise has a lot more to offer than just simply torture porn or gore or anything else like that. So it does kind of give me hope when Chris Rock comes out and says that yes, they're trying to make a Saw film, but they're also trying to make it funny. Because the original Saw film, the one that a lot of people hold in high regard, is in and of itself a very funny movie. And yeah, like I could totally get behind this. I can work with it. I just, as long as the story is there, any jokes that they make on the side and trying to kind of lighten it up, I'm totally fine with that. And this is one of the best introductions that I can think of for this trailer, for these characters and everything. Like, these are who these people are, and they're about to get put into something that they're totally not ready for. One of the things that we do know, and I'm going to get into this in a little bit, but one of the things that we do know is that Chris Rock is playing Samuel L. Jackson's son. And Samuel L. Jackson is also a cop. So, can I just say, before I get into any more of this, is one of the things that we heard in the last couple of, I guess, producers' commentaries for this franchise is one of the things they wanted to get away from the cop procedural element of Saw. And I absolutely agreed with them. It is the worst part of the franchise because it just feels like a weekly cop drama on CBS. If I have to really kind of find a criticism for this trailer, that's what this feels like. Like, despite Chris Rock, despite Samuel L. Jackson, despite the hint or idea that we're going to get more Saw-related content in the ether, it's just, it feels like a Criminal Minds episode on a Wednesday night that I'm not going to pay attention whatsoever. And I wanted more from that. I wanted them to really find an avenue related to anything beyond that. And I really hope that they found something that is so genuinely creative or new or originally to the series that they can do something like this that we all know, love, and respect, or come to understand about this franchise, and just kind of play off of that. But honestly, from what we're seeing in this trailer, I just can't really get over that. And it's the worst part about it for me. I just want to love this franchise. I want it to be good. And just seeing the way that this trailer plays out and knowing that it's going to be a cop drama procedural thing, like, I know it's going to have the twist. I know it's probably going to have Tobin Bell. I know it's going to have a lot of things. But this is something that they really have to sell me on. Even as a major fan as I am, covering it on my YouTube channel, talking about it at length, even talking to some of the people who've gone into making these films. It looks beautiful. I'm not going to say it doesn't, but you gotta be honest with me, guys. Like, do you really want more of the same? Do you really, really want to go into this ninth film of the franchise that's being hyped up as a kind of rejuvenation of everything that we've seen before and have it not be super different? Why are we focusing on cops? Seriously, it's getting old at this point. Short shout out here. I'm going to go back to this Lionsgate thing. If this, like, so one of the things that Josh Stolberg did is he said that he was going to post a picture from the official trailer, and he posted the wrong sign for Lionsgate. And one of the things I laughed about when it came to him was, the guy's a troll. The guy is a super troll. Like, obviously he has all the best interest in all of the Saw fans in mind and everything else. But my God, guys, like, come on. Are you serious? Are you kidding me? Like, just, you couldn't give us this? Come on. Would that really? Come on, dude. Oh my God. What a fun guy. Like, I really do like him in the helm of, like, or at least in the creative helm of the Saw franchise as of late. I the more I think of it, the more I really like Jigsaw, and I'm really looking forward to this film. But God, the guy knows how to interact with fans. So this is one thing I really love about it. I'm just stopping here. The idea that we're focusing on just the brutality of whatever trap that we're going to be focusing on, or whatever they're going to be focusing on in this movie. Like, these cops are being called into something completely brutal, to the fact where they needed to call in blood analysis or whatever to put full suits on in order to investigate the crime scene. Like, I don't remember us ever seeing anything like that in the original Saw films. Again, nothing about this seems remotely related to the original Saw films. If you know nothing about those films, if you're watching this trailer in the theaters, you wouldn't know. I'm convinced you would not know until later on in the trailer, and maybe that's what they're going for, but we're just gonna have to wait and see, because, like, whether this sells or not really depends on this trailer, and I'm gonna tell you about that at the very end. One of the things I would really hope for the future of this franchise would be getting away from cops, getting away from procedural elements, the animosity towards cops and everything related to that. It's something that the producers have talked about at length, not only in interviews, but also in, the DVD commentary. So I don't know why we're still here. It kind of concerns me that we're still here, because I feel like they don't trust in their own property, in their own universe enough to get away from it. Like, this is our brand, we're going to stick with it because it's what people want, even though I feel like there's tons of stories, not only from me, but also so many other people out there that can tell that story and live that world in the environment that John Jigsaw Kramer created within the first 8 films, or even just continuing off of the 8th film itself. And it doesn't seem like they did any of that. It seems like they took their worst instincts that they talked about with Jigsaw, and they just created a completely new environment, new film, new killer, new everything, just set in that universe, and were able to call it something tangibly related to the world of Jigsaw and sell it to the audience. And that is my biggest fear about this movie. Like, just look at this trailer. Seriously, like, go back, look at it if you're watching it when it really premieres. This is ridiculous to me. Like, it looks way more artistic than it really needs to. The set pieces are bigger than it needs to be. One of the things that David Heckle told me when we talked about the work on Saw 2 through 5 is that the idea of just doing something in a set, not going outside and exploring the outdoors or anything else like that, was one of the things that made Saw so intimate, so interesting, and, kind of forced them to tell the most intimate stories they possibly could with each and every single film, because they didn't have enough time to talk about it, enough time to develop it between sequels. But right now, with the last couple of films, this one in particular, it seems like there's a lot more emphasis on what's going on outside of these walls, outside of the games themselves and the investigation and all this other stuff. And even though it looks cool, it looks cinematic, and all of the character actors and stars that we see in this trailer, despite all of it, it seems like a television show. It seems like something that should be a very high production episode of Law and Order, at least to me. And I don't want Saw to feel like that. I don't want Saw to be a cop show. I want it to be something a little bit more. And I have to say, like, I'm not entirely impressed on what we're seeing here, at least when it comes to this part of the story. I hope that it's more than this when it gets down to, like, the release date and more trailers that we see from this and all this other stuff, like stuff that they can really do to promote this is more tied to what we've seen before, and also just building up like what the vast majority of the story would be like. I'm hoping that this is going to be like the first 5-10 minutes. The fact that we have Samuel Jackson in these movies just gives it so much more credence, at least to me. I can't be alone with that. Like the idea that we're going to get like a major superstar in the Saw franchise at this point, in 9 films in, like seriously, what franchise does that? What? Give me one example of a franchise getting 9 films in and getting a major star, someone that everyone would still like to have in their movies, and promoting it. There must be something very good about this script. There must be something very good about this idea. And that's what's really driving me towards this, honestly. That Charlie Clouser score, man. God. If you didn't know, then you know, right? Like, that is what really hits you when you first watch this. Even if you don't know it, your brain probably does, because Saw has been out there for so long. The only problem with that is that Saw, the theme is not, it doesn't relive in the Saw universe. They've used it for a lot of other movies in the past, and that's something that they're going to want to focus on in the future. So if you were watching this cold, you had no idea what you were watching, I can see you thinking it's something else and being like, oh yeah, I know that music, it's just ominous music or whatever, and you don't know exactly what you're watching until you get to the end. But obviously, they're building up a twist, they're trying to set up something big, and if it's set in the universe of the original 8 films, I hope it connects in a major way. Again, a new chapter in this entire universe. I'm not mad about it, but I really kind of wish, the more I have to sit on it, the more I wish that we had gotten a direct sequel from Jigsaw. I like everything that we were introduced to in Jigsaw. I really wish that we were allowed to see more of that. I don't want to keep pausing it, but I just have to say, like, it's really interesting to see the level of realism in this movie. One of the things I feel like really plays off of the original franchise is all of it didn't seem real. I mean, it all kind of felt like it was in its own universe, and cops and SWAT teams and all these other people weren't really acting in real ways. But this movie seems like a legit chase movie against the ticking clock or whatever it might be. SWAT team doing their thing, detectives doing their thing, police cops doing their thing, everyone coming together in order to solve something that's much bigger than one person. And like, that might be new enough. It feels like we've seen that plot a million times. But for the Saw franchise and what they're able to do with this series, it might be new enough to make it interesting again. But that just might be me, and that might be me making excuses for what I perceive as a fairly weak representation of what this trailer really should be about. And that's kind of where I stand, despite how awesome this is, honestly, as a fan of this franchise. Can I just go back here? Like, one of the things they're definitely in the, like, right here, they're definitely in the tunnels, seeing the bathroom, maybe like getting a sense of what's going on, all this other stuff, placing this on New York, all this cool stuff. Like, that would be awesome. That's what I see here. And one of the things that we saw even from Darren Lynn Bousman in his Instagram post for the upcoming film is it looked like a SWAT team coming into the tunnels, specifically going into the bathroom. So we might be able to get to see the bathroom for this franchise one last time, and what that means to the broader story going on in this universe, who knows? But to me, that's a really interesting prospect, and I really hope they do it sometime either sometime in the future or at least in this movie. Spirals, whatever spirals mean for this twist or this movie or anything else like that, I'm not entirely sure. But we all know where the spirals come from. Billy's cheeks. First and foremost, it looks like everybody and their mother is going down to those tunnels for one reason or another. I don't know why, but it seems like that's going to play a major part in this movie, and I really hope it does, because seeing the bathroom or just seeing those tunnels again will really put us in the Saw iconography in a major way. So, yeah, it's going to be pretty awesome to see. All right, guys. So those are my initial thoughts on the ninth film in the Saw franchise. Guys, you know that I am a major fan of this franchise. I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt, but one of the things I've kind of been hinting out over the last couple of videos on this channel is that if they want to uproot everything that came before it, if they want to try something completely different, that's totally fine. I am the type of person who is sold left, right, center, northwest, south, east, to whatever direction you can be on a straight up Saw franchise sequel. I'm the type of person who will sit there and defend Jigsaw up and down, because even though it wasn't great, it had a lot of interesting aspects to it, and it didn't upend everything that we knew and loved from the original franchise. But this is something completely different. If they drop the ball here, I might not be as nice. So I just want to kind of preface that by saying I'm really excited to see what they do. I'm excited to see where they go with this franchise. I really hope they don't disappoint me, and I don't want to sit here and argue about it or what it could have been or anything else like that in the future. Like, obviously, I hope they made the right choice. I've never been in this position when it comes to some of my favorite franchises. Like, I feel like I am honestly in like a Star Wars position when it comes to something I grew up with, I respect, I want the best for, and I'm not getting exactly what I want, so I'm going to sit around and bitch about it on my platform, and I just really don't want that. This isn't the best trailer. I gotta admit that. But from what we saw and what we're going to probably see in the future and what this franchise film could really be about, and the promise that it's not only taking place within the same timeline of the first 8 films, but also the idea that we might get to see the characters' interactions built up in the 8th film of the franchise and Jigsaw continue sometime in the future. There's a lot more to look forward to when it comes to this entire franchise, and I am not entirely convinced that the events that took place in Jigsaw are not going to be addressed sometime in this film, which makes me a little bit more excited. But again, that is a video for another day. Either way, this is our first look at the first trailer for Spiral from the Book of Saw, whatever that means, because this trailer certainly doesn't give us any indication of why it has that particular name or that subtitle. So we're just going to have to wait and see. I don't know, guys. Tell me what you think about this in the comment section below. I hope everyone is having a fantastic day. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what you think about the trailer. Tell me what you think about, the movie as a whole or the franchise as a whole, where it's going next, or do you think they should have done something completely different? And just anything else you want to talk about when it comes to the Saw franchise. I hope everyone is having a fantastic day. As I said, it's been real.